on in our Twitter on our Twitter account. This is just while we're waiting. So Isaac, when you want to get started, just let's move on. I don't think we have to spend a bunch of time on it. But I'm going to share my screen. There's kind of if you look at the shares of this post, 65 is a lot, the retweets, and that's like 5,000 total views. And the article that I did is like 17, so like a third the number of shares, and it's more views. So if you look at the retweets on my article, like these are mostly people we know. Like these are all pretty recognizable names, faces. But look at this group here. I don't know. Like if you go to the very bottom, like when we first started out, these are people we know, right? But then something happens, and suddenly we start to get like a bunch of like I would describe as suspicious accounts. So there seems to be bot activity on this tweet, and Isaac and I were talking about like, is there like some type of an attack vector here on the grant program? I don't know. We can't figure out what it would possibly be. It seems
it's like a key, like maybe just, I mean, it has the word grants in it, right? That might be like a flag for bots that are like, oh, grants. Yeah, I don't know. There might be something about this post, the wording or the image, that is like bots are targeting this, or a Gitcoin. I mean, there might be like this never-ending war on Sybil resistance. Like, I wonder what. Yeah, this is really fascinating.
Yeah, I'm not that worried about it, but it is kind of. I'm just flagging it as like something we should keep an eye on.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, well, okay. I think we can start now. So, yeah, why don't you start yourself, Gideon, with the academy stuff?
Yeah, actually, I think everybody on the call right now knows the status of things. So it would really be more for Nate and Joseph and Marathon Mind. So I don't know if we. And basically, I mean, I'll just right now. We, as everybody knows, we've been going for quite a while and trying to figure out the merger with the academy, and basically in mid-June, Angela asked that we really just focus on trying to get something pulled together. I came up, well, actually, that would have been late May, and came up with like a list of options, including the AI project, but also including just going with just the merger of the academy and no AI project. We talked about that quite a bit, but didn't, just weren't able to get anywhere with that. The biggest problem was raising $2 to $5 million, and for the AI project. Then we agreed that it made more sense to just set the AI project aside and focus on just simplifying things and like focus on just the merger with the academy and the TEC. And she wasn't able to focus on it. And while the ETHCC thing was going on and the AI project. And so she asked to be able to just delay on that until after ETHCC. She came back last week and said that after thinking about it, she just thought it made more sense to put the merger on hold. So I think that, Griff, Tam, Livia, YGG, Bear, and I were in a call afterwards with Jess, and Angela was in on the first part of that call. And afterwards, we just all agreed that it doesn't make sense to keep pushing on this anymore. And so we're gonna, as next steps, I'm going to pull together a pretty simple document that just outlines like the kind of parameters or the basic assumptions for a partnership, not a merger, but just a partnership. And then see if we, not a legal document, but just basically see if we can get agreement with Angela that these are, these terms are mutually beneficial to both entities, and just leave it at that and figure out ways that we can collaborate, but not a merger.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not spend a bunch of time on this, but I'll just say that I don't think I told you that Angela's very hardworking. She's been very smart or very focused in the academy, and I think it's time we do the same. Like, we always put stuff on hold because the academy is very important, but that at the same time, is having like you spend most of your time with academy, and so like we have to. Yeah, we have to focus more now on ourselves, and if this happens later down the road, we both will be positioned where this can happen. In the TC has a better position in the academy as well, and it's probably best. But right now, just sucking probably way too much time and resources.
Yeah, I just want to second that. That it's time to. The best strategy right now is to just take the resources that have been going into all this, the focus on the merger, and put those realign those resources to focusing on what we have going for the TEC, like QF and things like that. But I just seconding what you said, Enti, but also Livia made a point of like, other than time and resources, there's been another constraint working with the academy in that they've wanted a lot of things to be not public. And that's like, I think that's a constraint that's had more implications than some of us have realized, because we're kind of in this position of like disjoint information, because we haven't been able to put out publicly a lot of the strategy that's been evolving behind the scenes. So there's sort of a gap between certain members of the TEC. A lot of people are just not quite fully informed on the history. Like I met with Livia yesterday, and she gave me like a full download, the full history of how this merger has gone. And I've gotten most of the pieces of that from talking with the people in this call. But yeah, I got a full download from Livia, and she's like, the bad thing is that people in our community don't know this history because the academy didn't want us to make any of this information public. And so now we have people jumping in, and they're like, why have you guys been making decisions like in closed circles? But it's because we were working on the merger, which wasn't meant to be public. And so anyways, by focusing on TEC, by realigning and focusing on what we have going inside of TEC, we gain this power now of being able to work a lot more publicly, because we get out of that constraint that we had.
I think that's beautifully said. Yeah, it's felt kind of bad, even on this team, not even being able to share everything early on, at least. There was a lot of constraints in terms of like what we could and couldn't talk about, and that doesn't feel like it now. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it. And I have to say, just personally, like on Monday, when I came to this conclusion, and Bear, I have to give Bear credit. Actually, he dropped me a note over the weekend expressing his frustration with this situation, and that really did serve as a catalyst for me, and just going like, wait, what are we doing here? What are we really trying to do? And I have to say that on Monday, just getting agreement with all of us and saying it's time to move on, it feels freeing. Like it feels like we're going to open up a ton of energy to refocus on the TEC mission. And there's some really exciting stuff that we'll be able to talk about in the next few weeks. I think once we get on the other side of the grant program, I think we'll be able to start like really thinking about how do we become the best capital allocator for for token engineering. Like how do we get funds in and move them into the right places? So I think it's really exciting, and focus just feels so good. Being able to focus feels great. So anyway, enough said on that. Yeah, Isaac, I take back over to you.
Okay, well, let's continue. So then for the daily stand-ups, I wish everyone else was here, but the idea is that we make them. We've been doing them over text and yada yada, and some stuff wasn't working for everyone. And so I chatted with Tam, and she suggested that we, instead of doing it daily, that we just send 2 messages a week, one at the beginning of the week, so like Monday, Tuesday, and another one at the end, so like Thursday, Friday. And just the first one on the week that helps set intentions for the whole week, and the last one just sort of a retrospective on the week, if you will. So I don't know, on the next call when there's more people, I'll probably mention this again, and I've also sent a few messages, but yeah, that's kind of what we are going to do. So I would expect everyone to be sending their stand up today if possible, and another one on Thursday, Friday. Um, yeah, but that's not a big thing, so I'll move on right away into the next thing, which is the grants round. It's already open for applications. Last time I checked, we have not received any, which is cool. But I'm well. Let's go one by one here in the agenda. There's some important information about the round in general. Like there's some specifics. There's 25K. There's a 20% matching cap. Yada yada yada. But overall, the round is running on Optimism mainnet. There's now a single network checkout, which is pretty cool. So on the past round, you had to do a checkout per round. Now all the rounds on the same network can share a checkout. So that's like a significant improvement on the user experience for donors. That I think it's worth, I guess, mentioning or just having it in mind, in case anyone asks or whatever. Um, some other things, and I'll just probably just share my screen here in the manager. But so this round is technically set up so that people can apply. Let me open here. Okay. So technically people can apply till the 14th, to the very last day of before the round opens. And then from the 15th to the night to the 29th, the round is open for donations. But that's a technicality, but our communications should be that applications are only open till around the 9th, so that we have time to review. Or maybe it's more like applications are open till the 14th, but if you want to make sure you receive a response before the round opens, you should apply by the 9th, something around that. That I think it's important. Uh, that's that. And then the usual, people should reach out if they have any questions before applying, because after they apply, they cannot edit the grants and the answers, so they will have to resubmit, and too much work. So if anything, just they can feel free to reach out either to the email grants@ecommons.org, or not Twitter, Discord. Yeah, I don't know if there's any questions or comments. This is more than anything general information that it's that's been submitted to the
I have
past round.
I have one quick question. I've never actually applied for one of these, so I haven't gone through the process. Is it clear when you're starting the application that you can't edit it after after you've submitted?
I honestly don't remember. I would have to check because I did one application last time, but I don't really remember if there's any message. I'll check. I'll check now, and we probably should apply this round so we know. Oh, which is one thing I'll put here as well. For later. Okay. Then on the grantee side, we have to make like this whole week should be 100% for finding grantees. And I'm a bit worried here because on the past round, we had even before the round started, we had some people sort of reach out, and there was some excitement around. Now it seems a bit more quiet, so I'm worried we may not hit our target, or at least not get as much uh, grants in the door as we had on the past round. So anything we can do just to reach out to people, we should do. I have already sent out an email to the past round grantees, and I think it was you, Sean, that said that there were some people at the bar camp interested. So if you have the contact or whatever, I'm happy to chat with them or if you want.
Yeah, I have basically it's just in my Telegram DMs. I have well, I think from my entire experience in Paris, I feel like I could reach out to, it might be a bit of a stretch, but maybe 10. There might be 10 people I could reach out to who I think have are prospective leads, and maybe about 5 of them are like very, very actually realistic, and then 5 of them are a bit of a stretch. But yeah, I think that's kind of the position I'm in, and so it's the option for me is to sort of go through my Telegram. I don't know if I said Twitter before. I meant Telegram. Go through my Telegram and just get organized. So I'll probably make a little table in Notion, and then have like a correspondence tracking. So I'll reach out to each of those people, and yeah, can we define a little bit of a process right now? Like, should I just send them all a message? I guess I can link to the tweet that went out, and invite them to apply, and yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think shouldn't be nothing too complex. It's more like, hey, so the round is now open for applications. You can check here, and maybe the link can be either the portal, the documentation with information, or the tweet. Like anything would work probably. And then maybe just one tip or two, like if you have any other questions, feel free to come to the Discord or whatever. Something simple, but just more than anything that people know that it's here, and if they're interested, that they can that we will support them.
Okay. So that's my, so I, yeah, for me, I have like 2 high priority tasks. Is basically that I'm gonna be on that like today, and then I'm also curious to help out on data side, and yeah, but that's a later item.
Cool. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say one, YGG, I think that's great. That I think will really help, and I think we just need to do a big push right now. So I dropped a note to Angela this morning to see if they're willing to do the announce in their upcoming newsletter. We haven't heard back from Nate because I think he was going to reach out, but I haven't heard back on whether that resulted in anything, so I'm asking again. And then I think it'd also be good to do see if we can get some announcement in their Discord too, in the Academy's Discord. And I think these can be pretty simple. And then the other question I had for you, YGG, and for you, Bear, is what do you think about, is there any way of like getting this out to the folks who are in the stakeholder study? Would that make sense?
I think there might be a natural opportunity there. There are emails that we're sort of queuing up. I think I know you're in that channel, Gideon. You'll see Mark was just talking about 2 emails. And so I don't know when that first one is going out, but I think there is like a round of emails going out soon. And so it might just line up where we can sneak this in there. I don't think there'd be a problem if we're going to send out emails to all those participants. I don't think it's a problem to just add in a small little sentence. By the way, QF round just opened. I think that's doable. What do you think, Bear? Does that make sense?
Sorry. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think there definitely should be a way to do that. I don't know, YEG or Gideon or myself, either one of us can maybe drop a note in the group chat and ask what would be like the best way to do it, and also in terms of the timeline, like you said, to make sure it fits. But yeah, I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah, I'll drop a little note right now.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I mean, if this email is going out in the next week, then I think it's in time to focus it on applications. And if it's not going to go out until later, then maybe we would just shift it to be more about donations. But ideally, I think more bang for the buck if we can help these folks, like get these folks to help us with finding projects.
Okay. Okay. So that's good. I'll also say here. It's in. I'll put it here. Either Bear or Sean. Okay. Good. Stakeholder study. Okay. Okay. Cool. Now then, on the donor side, that's coming up later, during while the round is open, but we still have to plan some stuff beforehand because the donor side, I guess, it's a bit more public, if you will. And so there's 3 main things we've been chatting about that we want to do. One of them is having a Twitter space with Gitcoin, just to chat about token engineering and the round in general, because I think token engineering is very niche, and people may even like tokenomics is more popular and things like that, and so people may not really grasp what token engineering means. So given that we are having this round as a feature round in Gitcoin, and that we of course think it's very important, this can be a great opportunity to just highlight the work that we do, why is token engineering important, and how can people plug into the round. I have here a very small question. Is we can do this in 2 ways. This can be either a Twitter space for grantees, like make it during these days to get more grantees into the door, or this can be more of a Twitter space for donors. So far, I'm leaning more towards the donor side. Just it's a bit more public, more eyes, and also more time, because to get a space in Gitcoin's calendar, we probably need a few days in advance. But yeah, I don't know, just curious to hear what everyone thinks.
To me, it's pretty clear that it should be focused on donors. I think Gitcoin is not going to be great for helping us find projects. That's like pretty niche, and we're better off using our channels for that. But where they could really help us is connecting with people who are interested in funding public goods. So I think that's where we should focus that. And the grant, yeah, like all of this stuff should be really aimed at. Yeah, this is in that document, the whole idea of like doing some donor campaigns and what does that look like. So yeah, and plus that will give us some time to actually get our shit together and actually do a nice job on it.
Okay, that makes sense. That's good. All right. Well, then the second one is the community call / fireside chat. So pretty much we would just have to schedule it and make a small script. I don't think it should be nothing too structured or fancy, but just something. And also somewhere around the timeline of the round being open for donations. This we have chatted about already. And finally, the grantee spotlights, which, if I remember correctly, Nate has said it's a series of Twitter spaces where grantees can just jump in and pitch and ask questions and a spotlight. Yeah, I'll just open it here to see if there's any other comments, but if not, these are kind of the priorities for these days.
Yeah, I told Isaac that I'm willing to. I mean, this is following up on something that Tam said last week or the week before last. Is like it feels like we really need to have some owners for like the different components of what we're trying to do here. So though this, yeah, I'm willing to take ownership of the donor side of the campaigns. That doesn't mean I want to do everything, but I can act as like the accountable like project manager for that part of it. So some of that's already in this document. Like there's actually here, let me share our screen. There's quite a bit in this campaign 4. So, we've got basically like what the goals are, emailing, basically it's breaking it out by segments. So there's the TEC token holders and hatchers. And so there's ways of reaching, we know how to reach them. And then there's the folks in the academy who are, the NFT holders. So it's basically reaching out to the people who have the boosting power. That's like a nice way to approach them and talk about like why they would want to do it. And then it's reaching out to like the next ring of donors. And so this is kind of like testing some segments that we might want to go after, which is the TE influencer crowd, which I would describe as the stakeholder study folks, and then public goods donors. And we don't have a good database of those, but we're starting to build, like there's a Twitter list of public goods influencers. If you look, it's a private list that I set up on Twitter for us. And then there's the events, so like Twitter Spaces. I'll come back to that in a sec. Yeah, so I think there's one thread that we need to pull together that would be more like donor facing, that just lays out all of the stuff we're going to be doing over the next couple weeks. And then grantee discovery threads. So it's like figuring out how to like pull together some really interesting threads that feature the different grantees. And then on the day that it opens on August 15th, we do a thread that's basically timed with like a fireside chat. And if we can, I don't know if we can get that synced with the folks at Gitcoin, but this would be just like us talking about what we're trying to do and featuring a few prominent grantees from the last round, something like that. And then these shilling round threads, that's what the folks at Gitcoin call it, but I'm thinking that it's like basically fast pitches. And we talked about this last time, but it's basically rather than doing like really in-depth things where we might lose people, like especially the donors, like we keep it much faster pace and try to get, like a 5-minute pitch from each of the grantees. And this again depends on how many grants we end up recruiting. And then there's like some other miscellaneous things that are in here. We probably don't need to go into the details, but I can drive this part of it, take ownership of like trying to like get folks on the team, like make sure that these are all covered. And I was hoping that, I think some of this will involve Nate and Joseph, so I can follow up with them separately, especially with the Twitter Spaces. But that's kind of a rough plan that was in that document, and I think there's like a good, there's enough here that as long as we execute and plan in advance and start moving forward on this, that we'll be in decent shape.
I think this is great. Gideon, I'm wondering how to access this document, and then also how you started off this is reference to Tam's point about like we should for projects like this there should be a clear owner. So like, did you put this document together, and would you say you're owning the QF what do we call this, like project, or yeah, can you fill me in on some context to like say how this document emerged and how you see yourself? Do you see yourself as owning this project, or maybe owning it now and handing it off, or how is the context?
Yeah. So not the overall QF thing. I think if anything, really Isaac has been driving the overall project, but I think what we're seeing is that there are different campaigns here, and one is the finding projects, and I think that Isaac is kind of driving that part of it. We didn't set that clearly in the beginning, and I think what I'm saying is we should do that. We really should have like some clear accountability for the different pieces. So what I'm suggesting is that, and the reason that I took on that document, and that would have been probably 3 weeks ago or something like that I started that, we all kind of agreed that we needed to pull together a comms plan, a marketing plan. So I took that, and what I'm saying is that I'm totally fine with, if somebody else wants to take the donor piece, that's great too, but we need somebody to drive it, and in the absence of somebody driving that, I'm willing to do that. So that's what I'm focusing more. I'm signing up more for driving the donor marketing part of it.
Is there like a higher level? How can we get visibility on? How can we break that down? Because that makes sense. What you just said is really clear, but is that that wouldn't go in this document? Is there like a higher level document? Maybe in the Notion. Like where can we break that down? Like that really high level of who's owning which sections of this? Like what's the root? Mm-hmm.
I can maybe, it's not perfect, but probably the thing with most information about each project is here.
Okay,
and so
cool.
On the template, it has like, a big description of the project, what I think we can do. So, well, I've been chatting with Sam, and the idea is that we include more information into the template, specifically about this of the ownership and things like that. So that that's not in the template right now, but the plan is to include it as soon as possible.
Okay, I'm trying to jump in there. I'm trying to follow along. So I got into projects on Notion, and then I can open up TE grants round 2.
Yep.
Okay, I got it.
I think to answer your bigger question, Sean, is we have been basically since the first round, we've been kind of re-looking at how we handle projects. And so what Isaac has done since March, April timeframe is help the team move over into kind of more like a sprint mode, an agile type approach. And so the thing that we're now coming back to is like, this is great. And now we still need to layer in some type of accountability for like the different components of projects and overall like just accountability. And so that's the part that's missing, and we're now kind of like backfilling, saying like, well, we don't have that, we probably need to do that. And so what does that look like?
Yeah. My plan is as soon as this round ends to put my project manager hat again and continue building some stuff here in Notion to organize this. But so at least for now, it's a bit on hold. Okay, well, let's continue. The last thing I had, at least on the specifics of this round, is the TEC grant. So I think we should do 2 grants, and well, we can do it on Optimism, and it's going to cost less than $1 each grant, so that's not an issue. One grant is to apply to the Gitcoin Core rounds, because why the hell not? And the other grant, I think, should be a specific grant for our round. And the reason I think we should have two grants is because there's not a whole lot of ways to customize the platform right now. It's fairly new and permissionless, so it makes it a bit harder. And so the idea is that the grant that goes into a round, on the title, it has something in parentheses or something like that that says this round doesn't get matching. And so the idea would be that people can donate to the TC in our own round, but when we get to do the calculations, we just delete all the rows that have to do with the TC so that they don't get into the QF calculations, pretty much. Yeah, so I'd be curious to see if anyone sort of feels like taking over the grant. I'm happy to give it a stab, but would also rather have someone else write it if possible. So I'll just open it for comments in general about making the grant process to see if anyone feels like taking on it.
One thing we could do is I could just take the grant pitch for the ENS large grants, which is a pretty good pitch for the TC, and just start with that as the basis.
Okay, that's good. Anything else? Do we agree with the 2 grant structure, or?
Can you say more about the other, the non-token engineering round grants? Like what rounds do you think we should apply for?
Probably either. I would have to check closely the criteria to see where do we fit the most, but probably somewhere between infra. No, it can be either infra, open source software, and I think there's another one, but probably within those two. Um, and the reason we well, and now since Gitcoin has a new platform, we can only apply to one core round, not like in the centralized platform where we could apply to as many as we'd like. So that's that. We have to really check which one we think we have the best chances to both be included but also receive donations. Um, yeah, pretty much that. Um, and the reason is we did not apply last round because they had a criteria of projects shouldn't have raised more than $500,000. But first, there was a bunch of projects that raised more than that were included. For example, Giveth. Uh, and then for this round, they decided not to. They changed the policy, so instead of $500,000, it's more case by case. I haven't read the new policy completely, but it's it's not set on 500,000.
Do you have the list of rounds that we can look at?
Yeah,
We can do this async too if you want. If you got other stuff.
yeah. Let's do it. I think I don't have the post open, so but yeah, I'll send it to you later. Okay. All right. Now we move on to the QF tool. So for I don't know if you're aware, Bear, but I've been chatting with both Gideon and Sean of making a tool for our QF rounds that both it's helpful to us because we have to learn data, we have to make the matching boost, we have to get visualizations and statistics for reports, but also that's made in a way where we can share it publicly and other route operators can use it. And I think that's a statement to the TEC being able to build tools that are important and that are usable to the ecosystem. And I think that will help us strengthen our relationship with Bitcoin, but also the public perception of the TEC in some senses. And so we haven't really chatted much about the specifics. We will hopefully do that a bit later today. But what I've been personally thinking is that at least on a version 1, it should be something like, let's say, a Jupyter notebook with 3 main sections. The first section is like, at least for now, I'm calling it like a simple civil cleanup. Not really sure how does it look like, but should be something very quick just to get some. I just don't know what you do on civil things, but something very simple, the simplest things possible. Because first, it's not really civil analysis isn't really our priority, because at least till as long as we are a feature round, Gitcoin will provide some help with the civil stuff. But I also think it's great if we can have some of ourselves. And also, I believe civil it's a bit nuanced and complicated, so I don't think we have or we should take over the effort of building a whole complete civil thing right now. That's one. The second one, which is probably the biggest one, is the matching boost. So on this section, we sort of automate the matching boost calculations, and maybe there's some things we can configure and things like that. So other
This is so good. This is so, you're speaking my language. Like, I'm so excited to do this.
I'm really happy to hear that, and I'm really excited too because I wanna learn more as well.
Sweet.
And so on this matching boost section, it's configuring the matching boost so other people can use it, and so that we can with one click get a CSV that already has the boost. And then the final section is statistics and visualizations. Like um, Gideon made a few graphics for the blog posts and things like that. And if we can automate those, that'd be perfect. So whenever we close the round and make all the calculations, we can just copy and paste those statistics into a report, and of course, use them ourselves to inform and to see how we did. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I have so I'll open the floor now for. I have two main questions. The first one is on the matching boost. Like I'm thinking maybe instead of jumping straight on designing this QF tool, maybe we have first a session on somehow designing the matching boost, like understanding, making some analysis, what would be the ideal parameters for a matching boost to be secure, to be functional. I don't know. We would have to answer, I guess, a few questions on what do we want to get out of it to be able to decide it properly, and then do the QF round. That's my first question. If that'd be the best thing to do, and then the other question is just general opinions and feedback on the tool.
I can share just some of the same thoughts that I shared with you earlier today, Isaac, very quickly. I think that there is a nice opening for the TEC to really take the lead in defining this new kind of mix between like bottoms-up wisdom of crowds and expertise, subject matter expertise, the fusion of those two things that was in that article. And it's what we're doing, right? So, so I think it's worth investing a little bit here, in like something like what you're describing. And the challenge that I think we may face is that these platforms, like Gitcoin's platform, is changing. We don't have a lot of control over it, et cetera, et cetera. There may be an opportunity to do this on Giveth, now that Giveth has launched quadratic funding. We kind of just don't know exactly what this looks like. So the thing that I was mentioning is that if there's a way where we could abstract it so that we can do the kind of the tuning of the signal, like, oh, well, an NFT counts for this much, and a TC, token ownership counts for this much. And, we can do weighting, basically parameterization of the signal, of the boost signal, in our own space, and then essentially abstract what we hand off to whoever we're doing QF with, so that maybe it's just like a coefficient, like a single number that we pass off, or some, I don't know what it would look like. I leave that to you guys. But what I'm trying to figure out is how do we abstract it so we can do our work and then be able to plug it in, that signal of wisdom of crowds times expertise, and just hand that signal off to wherever we need to hand it off to without getting sucked too deeply into the specifics of their platform.
100%. I think that's really well defined and very achievable. I've done a lot of stuff like this before on similar. I actually did a very similar approach when it was the Praise-mageddon, and I was analyzing different interventions that could be applied to the hatch distribution, and it was very similar to this, which was like overlaying signals on top of the distribution. Yeah, this is like some very pure data science, and so I think we can like hit this out of the park. And I can see a really good publication. Like I can see the TEC really owning this, because I think we can make a kind of a layer a tooling layer that is abstracted away from whoever, like, I really like how you just described that, Gideon, but maybe I think we can drill down even deeper. When you say a tool that kind of can be handed off to whoever it needs to be handed off to, do you mean in like a completely general sense where we're like, hey, here's a layering tool for QF that any community in the world can apply to this concept of combining top-down, bottom-up wisdom of the crowd and expertise? Like, is that what you mean? Or who do you have in mind when you say we could hand this off to whoever it... Yeah.
Yeah, we can follow up on this separately, but basically what I'm suggesting is not hand off the tool, but just do the analysis on our side, and then the result be really just one coefficient. Like, we could just, it's like, do all of our tuning, and the result is a number like, 2.4 for this donation, and 1.3 for this donation. But we handle all of the like our parameters are then basically assigning the weighting based on the signals, but it just gets collapsed into one number that's the coefficient that then is, I'm not saying handed off, but like in the case of like Gitcoin, what we did is there's a spreadsheet and we put a boost to each gift. So that's
I love it. It's I used to do a lot of I studied the portfolio optimization problem in quantitative finance, and that's kind of what this is like. You're creating like a weighted vector over it's kind of like a portfolio optimization problem. Like, we want to optimize our allocation over the grants and based on the signals that we have as input. So cool. I love this stuff.
Well, I'm just gonna say that it sounds really, really cool, and I'm really looking forward to see what's the result of this. It sounds to me that this is kind of like taking the shape of a project on itself. So I guess that will require its own planning and its own designing, like you were mentioning, Isaac. Its own team, probably. So I guess it's also a matter of defining that going forward. But the idea, the concept, I think, can bring a lot of benefit, and I love that we can control kind of like the outcome of this project. So we need that.
Yeah, I would. A good point, Bear. And I know we're almost at the hour. I would love to get started on this as soon as possible. I think I could own this as a project to start. I see like Isaac as kind of a PM on it, and then obviously Gideon, you have like a very clear vision for informing us as well. So it's like a Reiki. Like, I can own this. I think Isaac's PM, and then Gideon, you're like what is it? Well, you and Bear are, I guess, informed and sort of informing the vision as well. So, but yeah, I'd love to get started as soon as possible. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we can see them as product owners or clients, whatever. Gideon and Bear, mostly. Um, but cool. Yeah. So I'll follow up with you now, YGG, to see. I don't think we got a specific time to chat today, so I'll just DM you and see when we can chat, and maybe like collab on a quick document to get some of these details down, and I can send you any other information, and I don't know, you will tell me how we start, but just get started.
Excellent. And yeah, my day is very open, so I'm down to meet as soon as possible.
Okay.
Oh, actually,
well,
my brother's visiting today. We're gonna go for lunch later, but other than that, my day's open.
okay. Well, I'll just text you now.
Okay, great.
Okay. Well, we are at the top of the hour already. I see MD here. How's it going? It's been quite a bit of time. We are just wrapping up this call. So I don't know. Feel free to DM me or whatever to catch up if you want. And I'll see you guys later.
Awesome. See you guys. Exciting.
Thanks, everyone. Very
Thank you,
exciting.
Bye.
everyone.
See you later.